House Kids. I want to welcome you all here to this brand new series that we are starting today off of one of my favorite activities to do in my spare time, which is board games. Today we're going to cover a lesson on one of my favorite board games. This game was created over 1,500 years ago, and that's chess. What's that? Not all of you know how to play chess? Come on, come a little closer and I'll explain the basics on the chessboard. Okay, so on a chessboard you have 16 pieces for each side with 6 different pieces for each color. Your basic pieces are your pawns. These front row, this is all the pawns. What they do is to open, they can move 1 space or 2 spaces, and then one all the way forward until they're going to attack, when they can move diagonally. Moving over on this side, you have your rook on each end. Those are both, they look like castles, but they're the ones that can move forward as many spaces and laterally as many spaces. Left and right, like this, and then forward like this. Next to that is you have your knight. That's the little more complex piece. That's a little bit tougher because this one will move in an L shape. It goes 2 spaces, then 1. So it'll go like this, or it can just go 1 and then 2. But either way, it has to move in an L shape. Next to that is the bishop. Like the rook, the bishop can move as many spaces, but this one is diagonally. So each one is on a different color, and they're going to be moving diagonally. The queen is the superstar of the table. The queen can move just like your rook, and it can also move just like your bishop. As many spaces horizontally and diagonally. That's how your queen moves. The king can move the same way, but only 1 space at a time. And that's your basic moves for each pieces on the chessboard. You ready to play? Let's find out. Okay, maybe you're not quite ready to play a game yet, but don't worry, chess is complex and it takes many years to master. But what chess does is give us a good illustration on what the Apostle Paul wanted to give us about God's church. In his letter to the Corinthians, he wanted to show how everybody doesn't need to be exactly the same, how all of us being unique and different serve the church's purpose 100%. Okay? One thing that we can do is we can look at our own bodies. Okay? Our eyes are fixed on a spot on our body where we have the best view up high. If we look at our hearts are right in the center here, which is capable to pump the blood to every single extremity that it needs to. And if we look at our lungs are right here next to our heart so that they can provide the heart with the oxygen that our blood needs. Okay? Now if we look at our church, Jesus calls the church his body. And when he does that, it's because just as our body has different parts, so does our church. Paul goes into a little bit more detail. Paul says that there are so many different parts to our body that when they work together, they make our body function the right way. And if we look at our church service that just happened a little bit ago, we can see that. We have our pastor who gives us our sermons. We have our worship leader that leads us in our worship. Each person that's in the band, they play different instruments. To the videographers, to the people that run the lights. They are all very different people with very unique skills, but all working together, they serve the body of Christ, which is our church. And they make our services possible. And who knows? Some of you guys that are watching us right now are also a part of the body of Christ. You guys are doing stuff. Some of you are on the dance team. Some of you guys are giving giving the welcomes to Divine Kids. Some of you are even dressing up as Tyrannosaurus Rexes and giving the welcomes to our Sunday services. Everybody that has talents and puts them together and puts them to work for the body of Christ is serving God's purpose, is serving our church's purpose. And if you don't have anything yet, or if you haven't developed anything, don't worry about it. God's got you. He's going to show you exactly what it is that you are going to be doing for His church. And once you find it and you put it to work, everything's going to work great. Don't be discouraged though if you're not the next pastor or if you're not the next worship leader. Because just on a chessboard, how not every rook, every king, every queen can do a checkmate, it's always sometimes the little guy, like this pawn, that captures the king and wins the game. We'll see you next week, Divine House. Kids, take care, guys.